In this video, we're going to talk about 3 different file transfer protocols. Well, actually, we're going to talk about 1 and 3 different types of it. So we're going to talk about the file transfer protocol, commonly referred to as FTP. We're going to talk about the traditional one, which is FTP. Then we're going to talk about the secure version of it. And then we're going to talk about the trivial version of it. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So we're going to start off talking about the original version of FTP. And the first thing that I want you to understand, just like Telnet, the original version of FTP is a legacy protocol because it sends data in clear text just like Telnet does. And in this day and age, we know that's not a good thing. So we want to have something that does it in an encrypted manner. And that's where secure FTP comes into play. So when we're thinking about the original FTP protocol and the secure one, they both do the exact same thing, except for the secure version does it encrypted. So what's the purpose of FTP? Well, the whole purpose of FTP is to allow us to transfer files between systems. So let's say that I have a website, which I do, instructoralton.com, and I have it hosted on a web server with a web hosting company where I don't know where they're located, so I can't actually physically go over to that server and attach files to it. I can't upload files locally to it because I don't have the means to do so. So what can I use? Well, I can use FTP. I can use the original version, or I could use the secure version. And what I can do with that, with this protocol, is that I can create credentials. I can create a username and password, and then I can use that username and password to log into that web server. And then once I'm on there, FTP is what we consider a full functioned protocol for file transfer because it allows us to view files, it allows us to list them, we can add them, we can delete them, we can rename them, we can even take a look at the permissions and modify those as well. So what you see down here is FileZilla. It is a very popular FTP client. And over here, you're going to see my local system. Over here, you're going to see the remote system. And what I can do is I can transfer files from the local system to the remote system. And I can modify, I can add, I can delete, I can do everything that I have listed over here plus more on the remote system. So that's the purpose of FTP. And here's a really simple use case. So let's say that I created an ebook that's an informational ebook for one of my courses, and I wanted to make it readily available for download on my website. Well, an easy way to upload that is via FTP. And then also an easy way for my students to download it is via FTP as well, but not this version, but with the trivial version, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. Now, in terms of FTP, it uses ports 20 and 21. And the reason that it utilizes 2 ports is because one of them is for the actual data transfer. So port 20 is for the actual data transfer. And then port 21 is for the commands. So I can tell the FTP client to add a file, to delete it, to rename it, and etc. And those are the commands. And because we are setting up a session, it utilizes TCP. Now, in terms of the secure version, like I said, it's the exact same functionality of the original one, except it does everything in an encrypted manner, and it uses SSH. You're going to notice that the port is port 22, which is a port number for SSH. So you can think of it as FTP over SSH. It's a secure cryptographic version of FTP that utilizes SSH to provide its encryption services. So that's why it utilizes the same port as SSH. And again, just like the original version of FTP, it utilizes TCP because it is setting up a session for us to transfer files back and forth. Now let's take a look at trivial FTP. So trivial FTP is called trivial for a specific reason because it is a bare bones version of FTP, and it's typically used for simple file downloads. There's no functionality for authentication. There's no functionality for directory navigation. We can't do all the things that we can do with the general FTP protocol and the secure version of that. With Trivial FTP, I upload a file and then people can simply download it. And here's the thing, with Trivial FTP, or in other words TFTP, when somebody goes to my website or they go somewhere else, they need to know the specific location of that file. If they don't know the specific location, it's not going to work. So for example, going back to that ebook I was talking about, if I uploaded an ebook PDF to my website, I would have to give everybody the direct link to that to do an FTP download from it. If I didn't, they wouldn't be able to actually use Trivial FTP to download the ebook. Now, in addition to simple file downloads, TFTP is also commonly used for sending software image updates to routers and switches as well. So our managed devices on our network, we can use this protocol to push out software images to them as well. And again, this is very lightweight because it's a bare bones version. It utilizes port 69, and because it is a bare bones version and it has limited functionality, it utilizes UDP. There's no need for it to actually set up a session because we're not utilizing authentication. So we go ahead and we just use UDP instead. So that is the TFTP protocol. And that's going to conclude this lecture where we talked about the file transfer protocol. We talked about the original version. We talked about the secure version, and we talked about the trivial version. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care.